want to talk about, really. And here we got Palantir on the screen. I will be keeping an eye on the earnings results when we get them out. For now, we're going to watch this 1 minute chart here as we chat. And as you can see, there is some buying pressure starting already. We'll see if this can hold. We have the 149 handle. I'm going to draw out just a few areas of interest for you. First off, let's get
Sounds
to
good.
a
Sounds
better.
good.
All right. Yeah. Welcome, Joe. How you doing today?
Yeah, doing all right. Been a little snowy, cold Ohio up here, and I think that's how it's been for just about everybody trying to get through this winter.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. You know, us Californians, we had to deal with some 50-degree weather this week. So
uh,
prayers and thoughts and prayers to us. We are really going through it right now. I don't know about the rest of the country. Probably pretty cold there too. So stay safe, stay warm, guys, and ignore
yeah,
us Californians complaining about everything.
yeah, absolutely. And Mitch too,
Yeah.
that
And
lucky
Mitch,
son of
yeah,
a gun down in Florida, getting a little bit of snow.
those island boys, they got it good. Okay, so Palantir, it's got a few areas where I'm seeing this volume really building up, and I'm wondering. I mean, obviously, we know there's gonna be a big move here, just based on where we move in the direction off of these big shelves. So we have these multiple big levels building out between 148 and 150, and I think this is going to act as a launch pad here. We are trying our best to kind of push out the top of it. If I draw this across, we can just see this is where the congestion is going to be. If we get through this, we can rock and roll. Oops. There we go. And remember, on this higher time frame chart, man, we are testing a potential really ugly look if we don't catch here. Joe, do you think this is a fake out, or do you think this is the beginning of the end here for this stock?
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, looking at the date, like on the daily chart of this thing, I don't know. It could catch here just if
Mm.
they get a good, the earnings come out good and but I just I don't like the kind of the triple bottom that I'm kind of
Mhm.
seeing across the board there right at 150 and if it stays underneath there I'd be wondering tomorrow if we would see more downside. But we got the earnings coming out, so that's gonna tell us a lot. Whether or not um, you know Palantir is moving in, out of the governmental contract and contract type um, uh, services and into more you know um, mainstream.
Right. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how they can kind of progress from here. And it feels like, I mean, the thing that really jumped out there is, I mean, my mom always taught me never trust a triple bottom. Like that's not really a thing, like it's usually a bottom that's breaking down, because though you
Hmm.
want those double bottoms to hold. If this swing low in the middle held, I'd be feeling so much better about this chart. But here we are, we lost that. Now we're testing the flush of this 142, and I got to think that it's on the table at least to reach under there, even if we can reclaim it. So here's this area of interest. As you can see, we're kind of breaking above it. We're going to take that off the screen just for clarity here and see if this is the look above before we flush out to that 142-ish level. I kind of think that might be the path of least resistance here, but it always feels like an ego call when it's like, well, we're at the bottom of a range and we've got news.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, especially
you
with
know,
that volume profile, kind of being in the middle there. I mean,
Mhm.
this is kind of the time where
Woo.
everybody's just guessing.
There's the
Hey,
earnings coming out. One
let's
of our
go. Let's see.
405. Definitely bullish so far. I'll get those numbers for you. Keep an eye on the chart.
Yeah, it looks like we're pushing there pretty hard. It's looking good.
So the 160, that's an area of interest there. And like I said, there's where the ego can get you in trouble because we were at the bottom of the
Hmm.
range. Sure seems like first move is up there.
Hmm.
So I'll get those earnings numbers for you in just a second here. By the way, there was a whale buying 2 million of the Palantir 170 calls. Those were for 206. That's definitely an earnings play. And so far, they are sweating bullets because they got halfway there up to the 160. The sellers did step in. We are negotiating the 155 handle before potentially mean reverting. Let me get you some numbers here. It looks like we do have a double beat. Looks like we've got a 8.7 percent beat on EPS and a 5.22% beat on revenue. So for earnings per share, the actual was 0.25, expected was 0.23. For revenue, we got actual 1.41 billion, expected 1.34 billion. So year over year, that's a 70% increase on in revenue. Question is the market going to reward that or not? We're going to have to see if the call can continue this momentum. But for now, we have potentially double top wicks forming here. We want to see if this bid can sustain, sweep out to new highs, and keep these shorts on the back foot, keep repricing higher with this news. So let's see. Yeah, Palantir reports 4-quarter adjusted EPS of 0.25. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just making sure that's always good to double check. Sometimes it's hard to
Hmm.
trust the first source you see.
Yeah.
um, so what are your thoughts when you see a double beat? You see the initial surge out of the gate, and then it kind of is in this like wait and see. Are we flagging? Are we consolidating? Are we going to reject? How do you kind of perceive this first 3 minutes of price action here?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, from a technical standpoint, from let's see, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, um, the 28th and 29th, it's really filling that gap, this little gap area there up into the 160s. So if it continue, I mean, if it continues to go higher,
Mhm.
and can hold that, that would be very nice. I still
Absolutely.
think they've got, they still have like a 170. I'm seeing a 170 level here that they've got to get past.
Yeah,
So if this grinds higher, I mean, it just depends on, what kind of happens in this range. I believe from like 150s to 170s.
yeah,
We're going to see, a lot there. Going forward, looking into tomorrow, I mean, we're going to be looking at, well, whether there's any kind of gap up on this, any profit taking on a gap up, or if it's just kind of sustaining and grinding
absolutely.
higher again.
No, good points there. One thing that I was just noticing is you correctly got me to look at that higher time frame chart again. Is this it's the 9-day moving average, 9-day EMA. We have it as this blue horizontal level here on our 1 minute chart now, but this is on the daily, and this is where we surged up into, found sellers. We are digesting it, and to me, it sure looks like we want to push higher here. So I'm keeping an eye on the same places you are, that 165 to 170 kind of area. If I bounce back to the daily really quickly here, we see that these zones are marked out here. This is an imbalance where it was previously ranging for days and days and days. So I really do think that this is kind of the next stop, as well as you can see that falling 21 day here at the 166. So these are the kind of areas I'm watching into this push. But so far, looking like all things are, or all signs are go here, as long as we can continue to hold above here. So what we're also looking for on this 1 minute is we're waiting for the bulls short term, these moving averages to kind of come up and provide a new floor as we digest this news. And we got to remember most of the volume is still down here. So we got to wait for that volume to come in and digest and accept up here. But hey, not too shabby. And let's see how software as a service overall is reacting. So nice little pop there after hours on IGV. It's always like how much of a move am I really going to expect the big boys in the space to make off of? I guess Palantir does have a decent market cap now, but like I wouldn't expect it to move something like Microsoft. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see what the actual implications here are, and it might be more for the defense space. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised. Hmm.
Yep.
So he's
And that's the thing, like, with the valuation tension, at 180 times forward earnings, what does a good but not great quarter do to this stock?
mhm.
Um,
It's a
but
great.
with where they came in, I mean, you gotta wonder, is Palantir being valued as a software company or as a belief system?
That's such
It's
a
a little
great
bit.
point, dude. Because like, I think it's almost like a Tesla type name in that regard, right? Like,
Hmm.
if you're valuing it as a car company, if you're valuing it this like you are, I don't know, uh, something that doesn't have the kind of staying power or the kind of implications that it does when you have such what would you consider that, like such coziness between defense contractor and the government and big tech in this kind of like, well, Eye of Sauron type creation. Their name's no
Hmm.
coincidence. It's like, do they really deserve the same valuations as all these other companies? Just like, does Tesla really deserve the same valuations as Ford or GM when they are kind of low key creating autonomous robots and all sorts of wacky, crazy stuff, trying to go to space. Like, maybe
Yeah,
that deserves to be priced in to some degree. Maybe the cultists take it overboard, but either way, it's really fascinating to see that kind of fair value get divin or like honed out of the market between the bulls and the bears there. So
yeah.
we'll see. It's a battle, all right. Let's see. I'm going through some tweets here, seeing if I find anything particularly interesting on Palantir. But I want to see what the guide is. Okay, so they guided 7.18 versus 6.21 billion estimate for uh yeah, for 2026 there, which is about 60% year over year growth guidance. So I mean, you'll hear me say this a lot with earnings. I am a tourist in the space. I'm not like a Palantir expert. This seems to be like it might be enough to kind of maintain the narrative. And I just wonder if this is one of those situations where it's kind of like Nvidia, where so many people are like, this thing should die. It's been trading sideways for so long and it's at the bottom of the range, and earnings come out. And it's like, well, if it doesn't, it can reaccumulate in this whole base. Let me just show you Nvidia's daily as well. Actually, the weekly is better. So just like we have Palantir at the bottom of the range, this is actually a really good example, because I'd consider this the bottom of the range, but we had this intermediary low that gets violated. So everybody's thinking down here that, well, what's to stop it from going much lower? When in reality, this was like the best place to buy, right? Before it comes all the way back, tests the top of the range, and breaks on further. You could think that, hey, if Palantir isn't going to die, and if this terrible software as a service narrative is starting to get shaken, well, then maybe this is kind of the perfect place, for it to catch. Because it's the
Yeah.
same thing where it did sweep this intermediary low or intermediate low, but it did hold this structure low. And now we are trading way back above here, above these bottom wicks where it traded back 3 times. And now it's up here again. So yeah, like you said, the big test is going to be where these higher time frame moving averages are starting to
Yeah,
apply their
I
downward
think so.
pressure. Hmm. So far, looking pretty constructive. And this is what we were talking about. We want to see these short term moving averages catch up and provide the support. So now
Mhm.
it's where it gets interesting, because often it can be kind of up on stilts here. And as it comes down, like, sure, we're waiting for this support to rise, but also we've had sellers just, or at least bulls sitting up here going, I'm going to take profits. The longer we sit up here, the more it's like, easy to kind of just say, hey, I'm going to potentially get out and provide some downward pressure to this. So we just got to watch here. This is kind of where where it gets a little bit spicy, a little bit interesting, and we can kind of glean more of the underlying strength and how real the trend is, so to speak. Because if it's really, really strong, we might see actual continuation and a push up through this previous high.
Hmm.
Look at this, it's starting to get a little spicy. I think we might see that.
Yeah.
Still a strong look here, and we're basically just digesting these 60 sellers represented by this band. Liking this look. Also, Joe.
Yeah, I'm liking that right in that 157 there. On if you're looking on the 1 minute chart,
Mhm.
um, they're holding it up there, and I mean the thing of it is it didn't die all the way back down, so
Yeah.
it's you know it's got that look where it's holding, but it I guess we'll see. We'll see if it pushes and if it gets demolished, up higher, then that's gonna be really telling. I mean, that I watch, mostly small caps. When these large caps get going, a lot of times they mimic it, pretty
Mm.
mimic them pretty well, and you look
Yeah.
for somewhat the same things, but
No, absolutely. And it's just there's so much symmetry in patterns just regardless of where you're looking in the market, and that really just shows me that like this is a all a function of supply and demand. It's just like these
mhm,
patterns, they've been around for hundreds of years, most of them. Like there's really very little new under the sun in terms of in terms of you can trade the same patterns that Jesse Livermore was like 100 years ago and do just fine.
mhm,
So it's interesting. So we have the flag test. We come back. We find more buyers. Now we're deciding whether this was a little retest of this breakout, this downtrend line breakout. And we get to decide whether these new buyers are stronger than these longer term sellers into this 160 handle. So far, it feels to me like we're just eating through them here, and it's just a matter of time. But hey, we will know that that's wrong if we lose these moving averages, if we lose these strong candles up. So this 157-ish kind of area. So definitely getting tight.
yeah, we got a lot of levels to get through. That's for
Mhm.
sure. But the thing of it is like if they um yeah, if they start, pushing it, higher and higher, it gets into like a domino effect. They
Mhm.
start knocking these walls down that didn't
Right.
expect to be knocked down. So we're kind of at that first level there. I mean, I'm looking at the like a 23-hour chart um as well, and
Mhm.
uh, you know, we've got 160s here that's just trying to test. It's expected to pull back a little bit from that, and then consolidate, and we'll see if it continues to move higher.
Yeah.
But it's got a ways to go. I mean, it certainly has a ways to go.
No, it makes sense though. Looking at like this hourly chart, this is a very logical spot for it to take a little bit of a breather, though. It came back up to this neckline where it was consolidating for for at least a
Mhm.
full day here before really falling off again. And this is what I talk about a lot. It's just path of least resistance, right? So the path of least resistance was up here. Now it's checking. Now it's kind of doing the digestion, just hanging out dance. Not quite ready to go higher, not quite ready to go lower yet either. It seems. Tried the breakout, tried the breakdown, still holding, still hanging
Yep.
out. So just showing me that hey, things could be a lot worse in Palantir land. I think you're probably pretty happy if you're a long term bull. This is I think is about as good as you can ask for. This is like it's not a insignificant bump here too. From 147 up to 158. That's a
Hmm.
decent. Was that 6%, 5%, something like
Yep.
that? So decent move here. See if anything else is popping up here for me. Yeah, no, pretty standard. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. It really comes down into this game of like expectations, predicting expectations, how much is priced in, what are you really looking for on a positive result for a name that's this high beta? Like I'm seeing some people on my timeline going, is this enough of a response for this beat? Was the market looking for more? Is this going to get sold off tomorrow? And hey, who's to say? I think it seems pretty good to me, though. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
long
no,
double
it's
B.
holding nice and strong in there, so
Yeah, and again, I always just revert to like the price action because to me, it's like if an earnings, I've seen so many earnings reports that in a vacuum could seem really good or could seem really bad, but get reacted to very differently, and it's just there's so much room for subjectivity in terms of earnings analysis when you have an asset that's getting priced, repriced up into this event, and then you get the data, and it's a dance. It's not going to be this super easy to analyze, like, oh, this is actually, it should be trading for this much, it should be trading, like, this is overpriced, this is underpriced. It's a lot more subjective than a lot of people like to think, especially with names where you are looking very forward. You're very forward looking, you're very speculative. Meanwhile, as I'm yapping, Palantir's pushing beautifully here, and this is starting to look like
yeah.
a nice ascending triangle here. But again, we need to get through these 160 sellers. Seems like they're getting tired, but we gotta wait for those candle closes. 17 seconds on
Mhm.
this one here. And there we go. We
Yep.
see we see the velocity on this candle too, the magnitude. It still is relatively low volume. I mean, I shouldn't even say that. It's relatively high volume. It's just kind of distorted because of the big volume from the actual
Mhm.
earnings report result candle.
I
There's
like the
there's the
back
close.
on that first candle too.
Mhm.
The on the like on the 5-minute chart, we're 15-minute chart. Let's see. It's kind of same thing on 15-minute chart and a 5-minute chart. You can kind of see it that when it pulled back, it did not pull back 50% of the way through
Yeah.
that volume candle, and I
Mhm.
like that. I
Right.
don't like it when it. I mean, I do like it if it comes back to 50s. That's fine. That's even better price if it's going to stay strong.
Right.
But this is even kind of better. Just almost like a 25% pullback, and then it pushed higher and held on the
Mhm.
15-minute chart. It tested it's like the close of that first 15-minute candle. Is it, it'll be interesting if it comes back and retests that 157, like 157 area,
Yeah.
157.20 or so. If it in a 15-minute time frame, next 15-minute candle, yeah, it could come back if it tests it, but if it continues to hold, um, or I don't really want to see that though, really, if I'm long
Yeah.
and after
No.
hours. Um, if I'm taking a scalp trade on this or something like that.
Yeah. What I do like here is that, so we have this band that represents that 160 and slightly under it. What I'm seeing is, at least for now, the past couple minutes, it seems like we're trying to barcode on the top side of this range over that 160. So to me, that's finding at least some acceptance above it. Now, of course, as I do give it the caster's curse here, it might be trying to turn over, but I'd like to see it hold the bottom of the candle here. Let's see, 1 second left. So yeah, not ambiguous inside 1 minute candle. I'd like to see this next candle's incentive be to push up and test the top part of this range and continue barcoding in the past, like it has for the past 5 minutes. Then I think eventually that digestion will just kind of work its way up beyond this 160 and resolve higher. So again, we have this upward support rising with these moving averages over time as the look back window digests this big push up. We drift higher, and we see that barcoding still in effect for now. So now bears are going to step in at some point and try to cap this, and then we'll continue to barcode, but we should have a series of higher lows, or at least equal lows, into this equal highs, and just kind of continue forming this rising triangle type pattern here till we resolve. Let me try to find when the earnings call is as well. It's going to be okay. It starts in 20 minutes, so we can catch the. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's starting right when we're ending. That's unfortunate. It's going to be five. I think it's. I'm going to double check on this. We might be able to catch like 15 minutes of it. No, yeah, I'm seeing 5 p.m. Eastern time. Darn.
Okay, cool. Yeah, figures that would be right that at that time.
Yeah,
And
that makes sense. So we are seeing a little bit of selling pressure coming in for the first time in a while. We are going to see if we're going to rebase and make a higher low, or if this is a breakdown of this kind of ascending triangle pattern and it cannot resolve. So far, though, still testing the 21 minute. And the thing is with earnings, like you have so much volume coming in, it's really hard to push above that initial range. And often it can take the volume of the cash session the next day to really propel it above
hmm
this range that we see on earnings. For example, let's look at Apple really quick. Was this Apple's earnings right here? When it surged up, yeah, I think so. Surged up, it came all the way back down. Then the next day, it needed to flush out under the earnings level. Then it was ready to push up above it. And now it's just starting to push out now. So we might see something similar with the Palantir where it's not like it was wrong to be bullish on this initial push up. It's just that it might need to come back down and then push higher or
hmm
before it can push higher. So it might need that cash session continuation volume. So don't be too worried if it does come back down a little. Like you said, you don't want to see it initially like right off the rip come back and retest the 50. You'd kind of rather it digest up at the top part of the range. But a 50% retest isn't the end of the world. Back down to
Nope.
155, even back down to this 150, 151, just to retest
Yep.
the entire move. It might just be one of those because remember we're going up against quite a upward battle, uphill battle here when we look at the price action. So
Yep.
when you have all this selling it, it's not going to be a V shape off the bottom usually. Although look at the last time this happened, it was a V shape off the bottom. So
Yeah.
if there's a name to do it, maybe it is Palantir.
Yeah. And at 151 area, even down into, well, I don't know if I'd want to see it get below, too far below 150 or anything like
Yeah,
that. But that's
definitely not. Yeah,
that's like, that this is a nice extended move. That's a place where the value is going to be. It's not the unfair value,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know. And
Right.
so the big orders may be sitting down there, ready to start, getting in.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and remember when they have the higher time frame look, like they can handle getting messed with a little bit, getting, they can take the time. They're not going to sell. They're not going to sell if they're down a little bit on their first nibble.
mhm.
They're waiting to kind of set the floor almost. So like it's a very different game than if you're buying a monthly option, and you're like, all right, this is going to be the time that it turns around, right? I saw a big block order. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
you gotta have a little bit more than that to work off of. So yeah, Palantir here. It's an interesting look. I'd like to see this. I'd like to see this hold and continue to push higher. But like you said, maybe a little bit of a pullback. Like you also said, I don't think it spends much time under 150. If it does work its way back down there, in general, I think that the path of least resistance should be up into that 166 to 170 area, and then I think it's the real decision time. So I would kind of like a little bit push down in the morning, then continuation after the initial kind of mini flush as people kind of reaccumulate after the push up and say, hey, I think this name goes up to the same zone that I'm looking at. So in general, a lot worse earnings reactions you could have, like Microsoft's, for example.
hmm
That one's
Yeah.
not fun. Meta doing pretty good. I'd say they're probably the winners of this earnings season so far. And how are you feeling looking forward here on the rest of the earnings week? I'll pull up a calendar here, but I know we have Amazon and Google as the two biggest ones.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, we got a great week ahead. I mean, this is kind of like you know, the big week for earnings as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah.
of the whole thing. But and also big shout out just while we got the chance here to the guys in chat there, Nygaard, Callie Pepper, thanks for being here. We see you all the time, and Kevin Avery in the chat, and Josh Smith
Hey,
in the chat there. How's it going, buddies?
welcome, guys. Good to see you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, and especially, with we and I'm going to put a shameless shout out there for our earnings challenge that's going on with Trade the Pool. Be sure to make sure that you're registering for that and everything. We got 4 different great challenges going on as well. So be sure out there, we'll put the link in the chat here too to make sure that you register and all that. But yeah, it's going to be a fun week. It really is. I mean,
Oh yeah,
just looking forward to the whole thing.
man. So much going on. It feels like every week there's so much new stuff on the horizon, and it's exciting just seeing how much great content we're going to get out there for you guys. I just wanted to pull up a few more earnings results here. I know Palantir was the big talk of the town here, but Teradyne, this is a name that's in
Yep.
our longer term AI portfolio. They target essentially, kind of supply chain and packaging type stuff. So basically, a picks and shovels type play on the kind of targeting the middle innings of the AI cycle here. So they are responding quite well. I don't have the numbers up yet. I just saw that percentage gain on my screen. So I'll have those numbers up for you pretty soon, but these are substantial moves in a stock that just continues to grind higher. So I was in from 90 something. So I'm out half at 200 and just kind of wondering how high we can go. These names can really keep trending like this, but this 9-day moving average is just going to keep being my guide. So now that we are trading way the heck up here, I think I got to take some off at 300, right? It's only saying
Yeah.
what a crazy move there.
You don't get paid until you cash out.
Ain't that the truth? You never go broke taking profits.
Nope.
So, um, other names posting earnings results, Disney. So Disney here.
Yeah, no, Money Mitch had a great
Whoa,
trade on Disney at the open.
that's a bit of a drop. It really looked like the market wanted to catch this thing and push it higher too into the earnings, and then just
Oof.
gnarly. So
Take a
you
look
said he
at that
caught
now.
he caught the pop and faded this.
Yeah, I believe so. I
Beautiful.
got to put on.
Wow.
Yeah, I got to shade my pre-market versus open hours differently on the Trader Evolution
Mhm.
platform, so I can see it just a little bit better. But yeah, from what I saw, he had caught the drop on at the open,
Yeah.
and then just got a nice little pop on it.
Okay.
Um,
And
but
this might not
geez,
look like a big move, but like for a Disney stock, for like a name that's like in the they're in the Dow, right? They're like pretty slow moving. So quite a range. 10 point, 15 point range or percent.
yep.
Nothing too shabby there. So we also have anything else notable? TSN, I guess, was this morning. Tyson Foods. That's something. Guess there's some implications there. Let's go to an hourly to kind of. Oh man, these are like the most boring names. I
Yeah,
want to. I want to care about this. What are the implications of my chicken nugget prices going up or down a little bit? I mean, it kind of looks. I mean, it is an interesting candle. I gotta say on the daily. Kind of looks like one it wants to keep marching higher to me. And okay, now we're talking. Now we're getting spicy here. So for the longer term accounts, I think this is one where you can just set and forget, where it's just, hey, good high quality company. They're not going anywhere. Looks like they're breaking out of this long term W base. So whenever it looks like this to me, I get really interested because I like easy trades. And whenever it's this long term monthly W, well, then I can just hang out and then eventually I'll collect my money up here 30% higher, something like that. All right. Let's check back in on Palantir. It was starting to put me to sleep just hanging out at that pivot, but let's see. Still doing the same thing. So, okay, guys, this is I think this is about what you want to see because you're probably not going to see an immediate continuation right out of the gates. You see that maybe 2 out of 10 times on a really good earnings result, where you'll see the big surge up and then people will just keep on getting more and more bullish as more time goes. It's a really real expectation breaker. Usually, if you're within expectations, you will trade up to right about the expected move. And I'll pull up the expected move on Palantir as well. And often you will get that move up to that expected move, and then you will kind of chill out and pull back. The market will digest, and then it needs the next kind of influx of volume to come in. One sec to pull up that expected move.
Yeah, I see Trader Benny in chat. He was saying he has a long position on PLTR back at 180, but he said it looks like it will be slow rolling a while.
Yeah,
He said nice to see the bounce off the bleed though. He says options have it pinned.
that makes sense. That's another good thing to look for. I can also pull up the gamma exposure.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be a little easier to get to. So yeah, it feels good that what is kind of keeping it here is that 160 handle because that would make sense. I'm expecting that we're going to see a big old bunch of 160 expiries there. Let me confirm. And then we can just expect, okay, into the end of the week, those are going to roll off, and that's going to be a weight of pressure down that will kind of get removed. That kind of gatekeeping effect here. So let me see what I'm seeing. So the highest node is this 155. I'll pull it over here. So 155 is going to be the highest node, and we just surged through that, right? So now we have some room up to the next highest point, 162.50. And that is kind of actually it's interesting that 160 wasn't the biggest node, considering that's where we kind of are headbutting up against. What this kind of tells me is that as long as we're over this 155, I think we're good to rock and roll, and we'll see these kind of nodes continue to build out into the next week.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I'm looking for, but we can also just look into the end of the month as well, or at least into the monthly expiry. And then we're seeing there's more of the 160 expiry. So it could be a decent level of interest and potentially a kind of ceiling into the next week or so. Like I said, it can take a while for these bottoms to form. So don't get too discouraged if we trade from the 155 to 160 handle over the next week. I think that might be on the docket. But regardless, I do think that a bottom is being put in here. I do think that a bottom is being put in here. I don't see any reason on the gamma charts to have this get pulled down. Earnings don't seem like we need to deal with any tail risks or anything too worrisome. I like it. I like it. I like it more than just about any other software as a service because I think that the whole sector is really getting beat on because of this whole Claude Code, epidemic, which I think is super cool. I'm using a lot of it. I think it's very fascinating just how much building potential the average person has.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's going to take a big chunk out of a lot of these software as a service companies' moats. That being said, I don't think any of us is going to go and vibe code our own Palantir database. Things like that, I think, have a lot of staying power. And you can look at opportunities like this as, well, opportunities. That's kind of where my head is at in terms of the longer term picture on Palantir. Short term, it's going to be a bit of a roller coaster, though, as we can kind of expect. But I don't know. That's where my head's at. Is there
Yeah.
anything else in terms of different earnings that anything that was standing out to you? Some of these names, like we had Disney, Palantir, NXPI for semiconductors, Teradyne, also semiconductors, Tyson Foods. Really nothing too crazy, Nothing with like big ground shaking
Yeah.
implications. Hmm. Yeah, I think the bigger ones are coming
Yeah,
up next week or this later this week.
yeah, because I was going to pull up the ones that we're focusing on trade the pool. I got to find my Discord though.
Yeah, no, take your time.
Trade
I have some stuff to yap about here. So AMD is going to be my top watch in tomorrow. I think this one's going to have pretty big implications on semiconductors and if they can continue this just absolutely meteoric trajectory. So going over to SMH real quick, we are kind of in the middle of this range. We tried to break out at the top here, pulled back a little bit, but just are rebasing as far as I can see, and holding over this 50% of the range. So over 400, and I think we're cooking. And I think that we want to keep on screaming higher overall. This is like a chart that's always been very hard for me to read, and I've missed big moves on semiconductors just because I've been a little bit afraid to just tap into the trade when it looks like it's still strong and pushing higher. So I think any dips are still buys as long as they're respecting these moving averages. Historically, if you're buying under this 9 day, under this blue line, you're having a good time. If you bought here, sure it looked bad then, or it looked kind of, a little sketchy then, but very quickly you were proven right. Again, if you get under this 21, looking like an even better deal. So that's the next area of interest where if we can find even just any kind of support under here, I want to be involved in case that is a bottom. And then whenever I'm buying an undercut and it starts to work, if it then stops to work and I lose that low that I, bought assuming it was a bottom, well, then I just stop out and wait for it to, you know, to reform. Sorry, I'm battling my
Yeah.
zoom in there. So yeah, I think this one's still valid. I think it's just a couple day flag here back into support before it pushes higher. I think AMD could be the what triggers that next move. As you can see, we did take a pretty gnarly header down to this 21, but it just held like a champ straight up out of the gates there. And I think this one wants to move higher, and it's just a matter of how it's going to get there. How do you feel about AMD?
AMD, liking it so far.
Hmm.
I mean, I always go back to I'm always on the daily chart. So, just looking here, it's kind of in the middle of the range from what I can see, unless it's moved to
Yeah.
after hours. If I go to a 23-minute chart, looking at yours too. Yeah. So I just, I see an upward movement on this as well.
Hmm. Yeah.
Another one is, it continues to get past that volume shelf there.
Yeah. Mhm.
And then continues higher.
Yeah, I think it wants to. I think this is a name that's just really bucking all expectations in the past. Like whenever its massive gap up here was 160, very quickly almost doubling to 260. That's to me showing that like there's a big narrative change that wasn't being priced in. Now it's starting to. So just like this move needed to digest, this move needs to digest. And now we're starting to work our way back towards the top of the range and basically say, okay, this initial range that we set in this push up after getting this change in narrative, change in character, we're starting to kind of like reprice into that zone and higher going forward here as the sector sentiment overall is just so darn bullish. So it's
Mhm.
hard to be too bearish on these. Um, hard to be too bearish there. Let's see, Trader Benny, where's the call wall sitting at now on Palantir? That would be, let me double check. Right now, 155 was the biggest call wall, and 160 is very close to it. This is going off of the monthly expiry. If you're just looking at this week's expiry, the call wall, definitely the biggest was 155, sitting at 73K in premium. And next stop was 162.50, sitting at 47.5K. So that's kind of the little bit of a range there. We do have some volume all the way up to the 170 strike. That's 32.6K in premium. I don't know why I'm doing this off screen. Uh, so there's this kind of node here between this 155 and the 170 that I would expect us to kind of play ball in. But in general, for this week, this 162.50, I think is probably going to be where we magnetize to, but close under 155 or 160 to 162.50 with the potential to mean revert down to the 155. As long as we're over there, I think that we are still overall not looking too shabby. Alrighty. What else is on tap? We talked really briefly about the AMD coming up there. A few other ones that we're going to be watching out for tomorrow. MRK, this one is absolutely smashing. It wants to go higher. This Merck trade is an explosive one. We mentioned it in my Discord at 100. Did I take it? No, I took a different healthcare trade, which didn't work as well. So this was the winner. Merck on a higher time frame. This thing has a lot of room too. I think this one wants to go. I don't know. Let's see. Where's the next stop on the fibs? It's just like a high quality company. Good to have in the port for like kind of a barbell effect. Kind of thinking 120 here is the target. Yeah, 120 to 122 ish. So I like Merck. We want to see if they can kind of continue this momentum that they've been having. Definitely very strong name here, technicals wise. Besides those guys, anything really
We
interesting? We have Pepsi.
we got Pepsi, yeah,
Yeah.
PEP tomorrow morning before the bell, and then Pfizer as well. And I know that those are there. We've got three that are earmarked at trade the pool: PayPal, Pfizer, and Pepsi
Okay.
before
All
the
right.
bell, and then after the bell, AMD.
Gotcha. Okay. So AMD is going to be number one, but I think Pepsi is
Yeah,
going to have some pretty big implications on the market, on the consumer. What is what's the word I'm looking for? Um, just consumer goods, I guess. What's the name of the subsector? I'm going crazy. Regardless, Joe, this is a pretty nice looking chart to me. How are you feeling about Pepsi here?
yeah. No, I'm looking forward to this earnings tomorrow and see if we can get a. I'm looking for a move higher. I mean,
Yeah.
I like it. I like that. I like those shallow downtrend lines that get broken,
Yeah.
and then retest the highs. Like that previous high there that was, maybe what, a week away or few weeks away.
Yeah.
Um, I want to see that level break. Yep, right in there.
In there. Yeah. That kind of neckline area. Yeah, and it's just kind of always a similar story, right? With these kind of W bases where you have the big push down, then you have the middle of the W, and then the smaller push down off of that. And once you break the neckline from there, you can really get off to the races. So this is such a textbook setup for me that even though it's a slow mover, this is one that I think in the long term port, I'll just buy some shares and just say, all right, I guess I own Pepsi. It's not the most thrilling trade, but probably make 30% and get to buy something more fun. You know.
Yeah,
So an interesting spot here. Again, we're right through the 50% fib as well. And this is just telling me, hey, if we're basing at a discount under the 50 fib, probably going to want to push up and test some of these upper levels and start engaging with kind of this previous pivot up here. We were consolidating around for months and months and months before we fell. So I like the Pepsi, and I think that this is uh, going to be a good one to watch. We'll talk more about the implications tomorrow after we get the results. So I'll be talking about this after hours here. And yeah, that's going to be important. Pfizer, like we talked about, this one's been basing for so long. And gosh, does that look like it's going to squeeze or what? It looks so strong to
sure
me.
does.
Wow. And it's like, this is like the most boring name. But when you show me a chart like this, it's hard to be bored. That's looking very spicy to me. And if we pull
Yeah,
it to a higher time frame, it's going to look even better. Hmm. Now we are cooking. Look at this. That is quite a peekaboo here. And if we draw the uptrend line as well, we can see just how notable this is. It's breaking out of a very significant pattern here into earnings. So big make or break here. The big target is going to be this 27 to 28 level. This was definitely the area of interest there. And we're just breaking above this kind of midline base as well. So to me, this is definitely going to be a top watch as well. This also makes me very curious to check out some of the others in the pharmaceutical space. I know we had Moderna pulling back a little bit. That's coming back to its 21 days. So that's an area of interest. We can see how it's responded the last couple times it came down here. Has the big move where it gets too extended, comes back down, but when it's offered at a reasonable price, we are finding buyers. We found buyers again there today. That's one to note. NVAX, I have a small position of this one. It is all right. It's about time to add. About time to add right back into this 21 day. Just some names you can keep an eye on there if healthcare does start getting a bid, specifically pharma. Hey, Trader Benny, Hood is reporting next week. Yeah, okay. So this is one that I did get involved in off the 20 or 200 day, and I'm getting beat on this one. So I gotta make a decision pretty soon here. So it's hard to see on this chart. Let me fix it so you can see it. I really want to see
Oof.
some buyers stepping in soon, and it might need to be at earnings, so it might be quite. Oh shoot! Did I click set as default? No. All right.
No, no set
The
as
opposite of
default.
reset to default. No.
No,
All right,
that's
whatever.
the
We'll fix that
worst.
later. So, so the 200 day is this line that you can barely see, and the gist is that if we can't reclaim this 96 level, it's not going to feel good. It might take a few days. I can give it up to a week, but now I'm really operating on faith here. So what I can hope for is that we will see a response in this imbalance right here. But like, where is it reaching
Yep.
for? I think it's just
What
in.
line you got there, Steve? Is that right around 80, 85?
Yeah, 85 exactly.
85, yep. 85.20s I got.
If I don't see it catch there, I don't know where it's catching. Probably not till way down to 60s or something. So I think it's going to be not fun. Joe, what would you consider? How would you consider this one? I have a starter, and I was kind of hoping that it would just reclaim. It did not. This is just one to cut.
Yeah,
I
I think
probably
you
should
could
cut it.
still, yeah, you could. I mean, you could cut it and wait for the retest of the 85. I think. I mean, because like you said, otherwise, and it's going to bounce at some point. There's going to be some movement here, but yeah, I I'm looking at it on a day trade perspective, and I'd be waiting.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I'd be
that's
waiting. I don't.
fair.
Not.
So
I wouldn't be too happy with it right now.
I'm not. And I'm sure Benny, if
Sorry to
you're in it, you're
say.
probably not either. So I think you're hitting the nail on the head. It comes down to horizons. It's a good company. Someday it'll come back. The real question is, are you willing to hold it, and is that opportunity cost worth it? While other things in the market might set up a lot faster. That being said, the opportunity cost of selling here is that, hey, you're selling something that is a high quality company under the 200, under a rising 200 day, and you very well could be selling where a lot of people are loading the boat. And
Mhm.
maybe I just bought a day or two early, and that doesn't mean I'm wrong, but it does mean that I'm getting sweated. So, safe move, stop out, wait for, the level of interest, specifically that 200 day to reclaim. I bought the first tap because, man, it sure has liked to in the past just tap it and never look back. And you didn't get the chance to buy on that right side. So I gambled and I lost. And
Yeah.
that's the way she goes, isn't it?
Yeah,
Sometimes.
and you look back at this time last year too. I mean, it's not exactly the same, but it's a month later. 11 months later. March 2000. Is that right? 2025. Dipped below
Yeah.
that 200. It's coming down, gapping down 2 days in a row, um, and then it didn't look too good.
Yeah. And then,
But
if you got, hit by a car and opened up your brokerage a week later, a month later, feeling
yeah,
a lot better. A couple months later, feeling real good. So that's where it can really be a gut check buying into these pullbacks. And it's often smarter to just save yourself the heartache. Wait until you get that confirmation stick. So yeah, you're paying 10%, 15% more, but it gives you the peace of mind that you're not just holding through pain for another couple months.
yeah.
So that's kind of my outlook there. Oh man, oh man. Just going on through the rest of the earnings calendar, by the way, guys. It is not giving us much time to relax. So tomorrow morning we'll have that Pfizer and MRK setting the tone for pharma. Then in the at the end of the day here, we'll have AMD, really setting the tone for chips. Going on into Wednesday, this is where it gets really spicy because we have some big hitters here as well. Google, the Goog, number one. This one's going to be at night. We have Lilly in the morning. This is going to be the mega cap for the pharmaceutical space. Like I said, just setting the tone along with MRK and Pfizer the day before. ABBV, another big name there, and it's just going to really, really help set the tone as well as NVO. So we can take a look at XLV as well. And this is a name or a ticker ETF that's been trading just about sideways for quite a number of weeks. Might be ready to make a move. And I would be biased to the upside on this chart. So consider the implications of strong healthcare. Where's that money going to come from if it's going into healthcare? I don't know, just something to think about. Moving on, we also have Uber and Qualcomm. I'm thinking maybe Qualcomm might be a short, although it's already been beat pretty hard. Not a name I'm interested in long. They have some issues that makes them unappealing in my book. Uber is a name that we've traded but aren't in currently. It's having some trouble. We thought it could maybe dig out a higher right shoulder here, and it could not. So we were selling here, waiting for this to hold. It never did. So I kind of stopped watching. Now it's starting to get just a little bit interesting again, but I'm wondering if Waymo and Tesla's autonomous driving time frames or timelines, which seem to be moving faster than anticipated, kind of throw a monkey wrench in Uber from a fundamental perspective there. So not in that one either personally, but one to watch tomorrow. Moving on to Thursday, we got some more big hitters here in Amazon leading the gates there. That's going to be what a whole lot of big money is going to be watching.
Yep.
ConocoPhillips, a little bit of importance to the oil space there with Shell, COP. But yeah, those are going to be the big ones on our radar. Joe, am I missing anything there?
Yeah, no, I think that's it. We've got as far as like the earnings challenge goes, for tomorrow, again, just kind of reiterating this, um, because one of our challenges is, guessing the price of the stock after its earnings, prior to it posting its earnings. So I'm just scrolling through to the third. Um, that's obviously AMD tomorrow after the bell. On Wednesday we have Google,
Mm-hmm.
QCOM, ARM. Um,
Oh, arm. Forgot about that.
we also then have on the 5th Amazon, MSTR, Reddit, RDDT, Roblox, RBLX, MCHP.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
So just something
MicroStrategy.
to keep in mind if you're doing those challenges, as well.
Yeah, definitely. Always fun to keep up with those challenges. Man, MicroStrategy, they look like they need a better strategy because this thing is having a hard time.
Yeah.
So Sailor, he's underwater for the first time ever, right? That's what I heard at
Yeah.
least. I think his cost basis is underwater. So what is this going to mean? Is he going to have to start selling? Is that going to mark the bottom for Bitcoin? It very well could be. I don't think it's quite ready to yet. So I'm watching Bitcoin at the big 6-9 handle. That's where I'm looking to get involved. Maybe the new meme is 6-7. So maybe that's the area. Otherwise,
6-7.
59. Yeah, there we go.
Jesus.
I'm insulated enough.
Too
I'm
old
old
for
enough
that.
that like that doesn't even bother me yet. It's still funny to me. It's like when my parents would say like for show, it's like, oh, you just found out about Snoop Dogg,
Oh
So that's
yeah,
where I'm at.
exactly. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it
so
kind of doesn't bother me either. I feel bad for all the teachers out there. They
yeah,
they,
they're
they
on the front lines.
they're like, stop that crap.
Oh man. All right, so we will be keeping track on
DJ.
all of these earnings and more. We will be keeping track of Bitcoin into that 6-7 handle, of course, guys. To be sure to tune in tomorrow. We're going to have some fun ones. Big Money Mitch and Michael Noss are going to take the reins out of the gates. I will be doing the Power Hour. I will be doing these earnings as well. I forget who's joining us tomorrow. Somebody's going to be joining us. We're going to have some fun, and we're going to be doing this more and more because there's just so much good information to get out to you guys, and we want to be the ones they're covering it for you. So keep your eyes peeled. There's more to come here from Trade the Pool as we go forward here. Let's recap real quick. What has Palantir done since we started talking about it? Well, we had the nice move up and then a whole lot of nothing. We're trading sideways here, just hanging out while these moving averages catch up. It looks constructive to me, but I'm expecting the real continuation to come tomorrow. So we're going to watch this 160 handle. If we can get through there, then the 162 up to the 165 probably going to cap us for this week to the upside. Really, as long as we are above this 155, we can consider it a mission accomplished for the Bulls. So that is my take on Palantir. Joe, you got any closing words here before we wrap it up?
No, I think that's going to do it. And thanks for all of our uh, participants out there coming to the stream. We'll be on here every day, Monday through Thursday, during the earnings seasons.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Thanks so much. We're going to wrap it up here, but be sure to tune in tomorrow. We're going to do it all over again. Take care. Get refreshed because there's plenty more market action coming to you tomorrow. Be ready.
Have a good one,
Later.
guys.
Bye now.